All right, guys, so I came across some fascinating data regarding the support for Black Lives Matter, right? And this comes from civics.com, which does some pretty interesting surveys regarding this stuff and kind of tracks public opinion on certain topics. And this question right here of do you support or oppose the Black Lives Matter movement is interesting considering how Black Lives Matter has basically gone MIA, right? Like everything having to do with the police brutality movement has basically went away. Like it's done. Okay. And now that I think about it, I don't think it's a coincidence because the Democrat Party is trying their best to try to make it seem like they're not for defunding the police. And the whole defund the police thing kind of comes off the back of Black Lives Matter, right? And the Democrats may have put Black Lives Matter in timeout until they need them again come 2022 or 2024, right? I think that's maybe what is happening here. But this data regarding support for Black Lives Matter over time is pretty fascinating, right? And so let's see what kind of conclusions we can draw from this. As you can see here, they started doing this on April 1st, 2018, in which there was basically zero net support. Okay, 39% support, 39% opposed, 20% neither support nor oppose, and 2 are unsure. 2%. So this is a 0% net support. Okay, and a lot of people are just like, right? They're neutral on it. They don't support or oppose it. Now over time, right, you can see support kind of rise for the movement. Okay, but we were not super Black Lives Matter. However, you did have some of those events kind of happen over time, right? Where you had, people dying from police brutality and stuff like that. But it wasn't really super duper mainstream, even though it was coming more mainstream. And as you can see here, more people started to kind of support the movement. And then after Breonna Taylor, it kind of started to go up a little bit. Ahmaud Arbery, and then George Floyd, which is around May 25th. I don't know why they don't have that marked here. That's like the main kind of event, okay? After George Floyd, it shoots up to 52%. Okay, it has a majority support at that point. Okay, and oppose is only 29%, and 17% are neither support nor oppose. Now, this is where the interesting things start to happen with Black Lives Matter, okay? Because after this, you can see people started to actually formulate a legitimate opinion on the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Like, there's less people that are neither support nor oppose, right? People are now actually kind of choosing a side, right? As it still has 50% support. And then Jacob Blake happens. Y'all remember Jacob Blake? The guy who was essentially fighting the cops and then running around to his truck, right, to allegedly grab a knife, and then the cop shoots him in the back. And, people had a huge outcry because of that, right? That kind of started this whole trend of people just raging about any time a police officer shoots somebody that is black and unarmed, right? You just start raging. They don't care about the details. They don't care about what actually happened. They don't care if the person was trying to fight the police or was an actual threat. If a police officer shot and killed somebody who happened to be black, there was outrage. And a lot of people kind of caught on to the game at that point. And as you can see from here, support starts to kind of really decline, right? And I think that this is really the downfall of that movement, right? As over time, you can see support kind of remains at 48%-ish. But now, again, as you can see, Derek Chauvin gets convicted. Now support starts to go down even more. And I think that this coincides with the fact that during this time period, BLM raised so much money, the national organization, right, and movements associated with Black Lives Matter. And then what happened is that after they raised all this money, essentially that's when the grift was exposed, right? Y'all remember what happened to Patrice Cullors, right? And her buying all her houses and stuff like that. People complaining about how they're not seeing any of the money, how the movement is unorganized. And that came under a lot of scrutiny from people on the right. And I think because of that, that is what is kind of led to the downfall of Black Lives Matter in terms of support, right? A lot of people started to discover, especially by looking at their website, that they're not necessarily pro the nuclear family. They're not pro men, right? Particularly black men. They just use black men to promote other people and other agendas that really are destructive to black men, to be quite honest with you. It's counterintuitive to what the black community actually needs. And I think a lot of people caught on to that. And because a lot of people caught on to that, I think that is probably what has led to the decline in support and popularity for Black Lives Matter. As today, net support is at 2%. And I would not be surprised if net support keeps falling as, one, we don't really have any police issues anymore. Apparently, police brutality went away, right, magically. And as a lot of people kind of realize that this whole thing was kind of a scam, at least the national organization. Now, what's also interesting is if you are younger, you're more likely to support. If you're older, you're more likely to oppose. Now, when it comes to college education, it doesn't really matter as much as non-college graduates are actually more likely to support Black Lives Matter than college graduates, who are more likely to oppose. But it's barely a little bit. In postgraduates, there's a little bit more of a margin of support there. If you're a female, you're more likely to support it. If you're a male, you're more likely to oppose it. Now, again, the support among party lines is Democrats at 86% support, Republicans at 87% opposed, Independents at 40% opposed. So if you're independent, you're more likely to oppose Black Lives Matter. Now, the racial lines, hey, if you're white, then you're most likely going to oppose it, 53%. And if you are non-white, essentially, black, a Latino or other, you're more likely to support it, with black people obviously being more likely to support it. Now, if you look at the breakdown of support over time from black people, more black people started supporting this, right? It had like a 70-some% net support, or 70-some, it had like a 70-some% support. And then it went up to like 80-some% after George Floyd. And then now that's also declining as well. But quite honestly, guys, I really don't believe those numbers in regards to black support for Black Lives Matter. Because if you ask, do you support the Black Lives Matter movement? Like, that's all encompassing of the movement of, well, Black Lives Matter, right? And a lot of people are going to hear that. And I've heard, in terms of having conversations with black people, they get tripped up by that question. Because people ask, do you support Black Lives Matter? They'll say, well, I don't support the organization, but I support the idea that black lives do matter, right? That, my life matters, right? So that's an interesting kind of conundrum there. So when you ask somebody, do you support the Black Lives Matter movement? I guarantee you most of those people may support Black Lives Matter no caps, but they do not support Black Lives Matter capitalized when it comes to the organization, right? And I'm pretty sure if you poll people about the actual organization, those numbers would be abysmal, right? It would be abysmal. But I just found it interesting that support for the movement overall is just falling so much. It's only 2% net support, especially considering how there's no police stuff going on, right? And I think what happened is that with the Ma'Khia Bryant situation, people kind of realized that, okay, this is really just ambulance chasing, right? People want to be outraged about any little thing. And a lot of people understand that, yeah, some of these shootings are justified, right? It is actually a nuanced situation most of the time. And I think that's really turned off a lot of people. And it's just funny how after that, this whole thing kind of went away. It all went away. Okay, it's no more. It's almost like the Democrat Party to the left put BLM on the shelf, right? All of a sudden, police brutality is not a thing anymore. And there you're seeing support fall for the movement. They just kind of fell off the face of the map. So we will see, right, if this movement pops back up. But as of right now, it looks like BLM is just kind of not a thing anymore, right? Police brutality has magically went away for whatever reason. And it'll be interesting to see, again, come next election season or 2024, if this thing pops back up. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.